Hello everyone, it's Cam from Arsenal Theory, and before I get into today's game covering Arsenal versus Brighton, I just want to say it's been a terrible week in the Arsenal Theory household. People have been going downhill left, right and centre. It's kept me very, very busy with not a lot of sleep, so that's why I've not been doing videos. In fact, this is about the fifth or sixth time I've tried to go and do a video this week. And all the other times I've kind of been interrupted or noise in the background, so I do apologise. So it's nice to get back in the groove of it. But unfortunately, I wish I was doing this video under better circumstances because it was Arsenal 0, Brighton 3. And our title hopes are finally over. And in some ways, it's kind of good just to get it over and done with, to be honest. When you know you've got to rip a plaster off or you've got pain that needs to be handled or taken care of. I mean, is it better to kind of draw it out or just get it over and done with? Well, Arsenal just decided to get it over and done with and said, nope, we're not going to take it to the end of the season. We're going to rip that plaster off today at home to Brighton. And I wouldn't quite say we down tools, but we certainly down belief and essentially just gave up. I do feel that the Everton Man City result played a part in today, and the players just did not look, obviously Everton losing 0-3 to City, the players just did not look particularly up for it, I suppose. They just, do you know what, there was a couple of moments. Odegaard had a chance to kind of shoot from inside the area on his left foot, and he didn't take it, and you're kind of thinking, what's he doing there? And there was a play where Dunk kind of put it out for a corner, again, quite early on in the match. And we could have just taken a real quick corner and caused some commotion in their box. And we didn't. You know, the ball ran out. Players started kind of jogging around. We let them get back into position. And I just thought, ugh, this is what it's going to be like. And I've said it before. I'm not the only one that says it. A lot of fans have noticed this. That you can tell what Arsenal you're going to get in the first kind of minute or two, and you got that idea today. I would like to say, really fair play to Brighton. They played fantastic. They didn't really put much of a foot wrong. I thought the ref was terrible, but we can't blame the ref today. Martinelli going off in the first kind of 10 minutes didn't really help matters either. But some may say he was lucky to even be on the pitch because he definitely should have been yellow carded. He could have been red carded for a challenge on Mitoma. But either way, we just lost all our kind of composure, no real tactical nous. We didn't play to our strengths, and we just looked like a bunch of individuals today. I think maybe if we let's start from the back. Tierney, I think, didn't really have necessarily a terrible game, but I wouldn't say he had a great game either. He didn't really get to see him overlap that much, and I think he just wanted to keep things relatively tight. Gabriel was kind of, I don't know, I think he got handled a bit by Ferguson, to be honest with you. Kiwior, obviously he's recently just come into the team, and for the Brighton's first goal, he's down injured, clutching his ankle, and I really hope it must have really hurt, because you look at that and go, well, you know, if he stood tall there, the cross might not even come in for Brighton to get the header in. So very disappointing, very disappointing to see that. I thought Ben White was the worst of the lot, though. He was up against Mitoma, who was a very good player, but Ben White had a terrible game. He had a terrible game, and maybe he didn't get the support he needed from Saka, and it wasn't like Saka was tearing it up at the other end of the pitch. So maybe I'm not being harsh. I mean, it's a £50 million right back at the end of the day, and he got handled today. You know, Mitoma just showed him who was boss. So that was that was disappointing to see. I don't think Ramsdale was particularly great, but I don't think he was terrible either. He was just kind of much of a muchness, really. He didn't really do anything to inspire confidence or get the defence going. But he could have done better, possibly on the third goal where the ball was pushed out. I mean, the game was over by then, but still, he probably let himself a little bit down there. In midfield, Jorginho, I think he tried his best, but I just think a lot of the players weren't necessarily on his wavelength. Xhaka had some errant passes, and Trossard I thought didn't do too badly when he came on for Martinelli. He hit the post and looked busy, but he made just a crazy error for Brighton's. I think their second goal, where I mean, Ramsdale again doesn't help him actually. He passes the ball to him and he just tries to flick it around the Brighton player, which is maybe fine if you're in the final third, but not if you're in your third of the actual your third of the pitch. So they go through and lob Ramsdale, and like I said, it was just game over at that point really. Saka just looked leggy, looked tired, looked a bit irritable, looked irritated. I thought things weren't going for him, and then you've got Jesus up front, and I got to say, I'm just not convinced. I'm not convinced, and when I say that, I mean in terms of, I don't think he can lead a team up front that's to a league title. Now he won 4 league titles at City, but he wasn't playing week in week out as the main guy, because obviously for whatever reason City didn't trust him to do that. And he's still young, he's 25, 24, but I don't know how much better he's going to get. He is injury prone, but he just doesn't seem to have, not in the second half of the season anyway, much of a presence up front. And he doesn't seem to be occupying defenders as much, and he just seems to want to play in midfield. If you want to play in midfield, fucking become a midfielder then. Get rid of that. Don't have the number 9. But I'm going to come back to number 9s a bit later on. Smith Rowe. We used quite a few subs today. I thought Nelson did okay when he came on. He at least looked committed. Partey just looks off the pace, and Smith Rowe, I mean, there's just nothing there at the moment. There's just literally nothing there. So I've tweeted a few times and I've written about us really having to hold on to Smith Rowe. But then you see something like that today and you think, well, what's happened to him? I mean, he had this injury that he's been carrying for years. They did the surgery, so he finally is injury free. And his form's just completely gone. Must be a confidence issue. It's the only thing I can think of. I certainly hope it's not a professionalism issue where he's not living the life right. He's not eating properly. He's not training properly, and stuff. I don't think it's that, because I just don't see how he could have got to the level that he's been at previously. But you look at that today and you think, well, yeah, if you can get 30 million for him in the summer, then you'd take it, because he didn't show anything to suggest that there's a player there. So I don't know what's going to happen with him. We've got some really ruthless decisions to make in the summer. So, I've said it a lot of times, when you learn a lot about your team in a run-in. We learned some stuff about our team last year because we collapsed last year, and the same thing has happened this year. We've had an amazing season, but the final part of the season, the business end of the season, the most important part of the season, has been the worst. And I don't think those two things are a coincidence. We were happy at the top of the league early in the season when there's still lots of games to go, and the needle isn't really being pushed. Obviously there's pressure there, but it's not like it is at this business end of the season. And so City have hunted us down, and they haven't even really hunted us down. They didn't really even have to lay any traps for us. We've just shot ourselves in the foot. Realistically, that's kind of what's happened. Disappointing way to end it, especially at home, 3-0. Second season on the trot, Brighton have beaten us at the Emirates. The players just did not have... Against Newcastle, we had the you could tell we had the mentality that okay, yeah, these guys did us last year, and we're not going to let that happen again. Well, Brighton did us last year as well as Newcastle did, but we didn't have that same kind of energy or attitude today going into it. I just really hope, I really, really hope that Arteta looks at this and understands what's going on here. I fear that we're going to be ruthless, but in the wrong areas in terms of mixing up, changing up the team. Um, I think, I think we need a new. I think we need a striker at the top. I don't think we're going to do it because of the money that we're going to have to spend to do it. I don't think we've got it. If you look at the midfield reinforcements we're looking to do, so there's that. But he may just bring Balogun back and maybe look to put him in possibly. But is there? What's the difference between players like Balogun, Jesus, and Nketiah? Are they much of a muchness? It's hard to tell really because Balogun's doing it in the French league, but he's in a real terrible team though. So has he got the physicality to occupy defenders that you get from like an Ivan Toney or obviously we're not going to get Harry Kane, but someone like that? And the answer would have to probably be no. But is he more clinical than the likes of Nketiah and Jesus? The answer is probably yes. So I don't know what we'll do. It's a nice problem to have. Hopefully maybe we can do a swap deal with Brighton for Balogun and Tony and a Wodger 50 million or something like that. But there's going to be lots of clubs in for those players. So really disappointing way to end the season. Obviously there's still a couple more games to go, but I'm not really confident in us doing anything away to Forest. They're fighting for relegation and we're just feeling sorry for ourselves at the moment. So yeah, tough one to take. But I think, deep down we all knew what was going to happen. I did anyway. I don't mean that like in an arrogant way, like I 100% knew. I always felt that it was just going to be a step too far. But the way it's happened is very Arsenal-like. So, and it's a thing now. It's 2 seasons in a row where we've got to the business end of the season. We've just hashed it up. So that needs to be looked at, and I don't know if it's for me it's a mentality thing. But what I don't know is, can you train a mentality? Is that something that can be coached, or is it something that you just have? I think when you're young, I mean really young, like teenager or whatever, then I think a mentality can be kind of coached into you, and you can be led by example if you're open to it, to being of a stronger kind of mind and stronger capability. But these are players that have already been through, just to get to this point in their careers, they would have been through lots of mental tests. And so to see them failing on that is very disappointing. And so for me, there's a very, very big question mark over whether the team can actually turn it on when they really, really have to. So we'll the next few years will kind of show what happens with that, really. But I have my doubts. On that. So yeah, very disappointing. I mean, it's one good thing from the weekend that Southampton got relegated, so we don't have to worry about them taking 4 points off us next season, like they seem to do every year. Just an annoying club. We've got a couple of tasty players I wouldn't mind though. I wouldn't mind Lavia from there. So yeah, they're kind of good riddance now. I think City now just need to beat Chelsea next Sunday, and they're crowned champions. So Chelsea drew 2 off Forest, but Chelsea look terrible, terrible. So, but you know, I look at it at the beginning of the season. I think the goals really for us were Champions League, but as the season progressed, you kind of felt, oh, maybe we might be able to do something here. So even though we've hit our targets, right now it just all feels so flat. But if the club is being run in a kind of serious manner, and what I mean by that is we're being run with the goal to win the big trophies, because we weren't for many years. You know, that first season with Arteta, we were signing the likes of Willian and David Luiz or whatever. In fact, David Luiz we already had with Emery, but that kind of that era, we weren't moving like a serious club. We really weren't. It was a joke, to be honest. And since we've got rid of all the banter players, all the deadwood, or most of the deadwood, we've still got some floating around. We've still got a few passengers. We've been kind of making the right moves, or we're making more right ones than wrong ones, it feels like. And so you hope that will continue into next season as well, really. And if we can get, I mean, I don't think we're going to get. There's obviously the rumours about Declan Rice and Caicedo, and Tony as well. Although no one really knows how big his band's going to be, but I personally don't see us getting any of those deals over the line. I really don't. I just think there's going to be too many other clubs in for those players at too big money. I mean, if I was City, I'd probably buy Declan Rice just to stop him going to Arsenal. You know, if you're looking at it, you think, well, who's our biggest threat at the moment? It's probably Arsenal. And then if they could go and get Rice, they've just put a massive dent into Arsenal there. And plus it means he's not gone to, say, Liverpool or a Man United, where he could make an equally big impression. So, and it looks like City are getting into that every year. They'll kind of add like an 80, £100 million player. I mean, Haaland wasn't quite that much, but with the signing on fees, agent fees, and sort of reportedly on around €1 million a week or something crazy like that, it's effectively a deal of that size. So obviously they did Grealish, Haaland, and then whatever they're going to look to do next season. So it's going to be very difficult. If we're going to do the deal, I feel we need to do it early. That's what I feel. Or maybe we've already done it and they're just keeping it all under wraps. Because the rumours are is that it's basically done. But I just don't. I don't buy that. I just don't. We don't do deals like that. Culturally, it's just not how we roll. But anyway, I was hoping I'd feel a bit better after getting this done, but I don't. I just feel very flat, very deflated. To lose it this way is just, it's quite shameful, to be honest. I don't know what the players are going to be saying to themselves and what Arteta is going to be saying. But he was out-coached today. We were out-fought, out-desired. And you know what? If you don't, it doesn't matter what the tactics are. If you don't turn up, you're just going to get beat. And we took one hell of a beating today. Going to have to avoid the internet for a while. All the, opposition fans are going to be chiming in. And it's hard to watch because a lot of what those fans are saying will be true. But hey, at least we'll get to hear the Champions League music next season at the Emirates. So thanks for watching. If you like the video, please press the like button. Please subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.